A look now at news here in France, where the long lines at petrol stations are continuing this Wednesday, with strikes putting most fuel refineries out of action. This morning, staff voted to continue their industrial action, which has now entered its third week. The government, though, is warning it will requisition staff to get those refineries operating again. Well, earlier I spoke to our reporter Luke Shrago, who's at the Gravichamp Port Jérôme refinery.
Well, this morning, striking workers here had a meeting with Esso's management. They were hoping to try and get things moving. The prefects waiting to see the outcome of that meeting and what workers would decide to see whether or not they'd be moving forward with requisitioning. Now, that meeting, apparently, management said that they would negotiate, but only after staff went back to work. That has been refused categorically by those on strike. They had a show of hands a short time ago, and they have voted to continue striking. Now, it's not yet known exactly which form things will take here. What they had to say to the collected press was that they didn't know which staff would be affected. They didn't know exactly how things would be moving forward, but they would be here waiting to see how things would progress. The government, for its part, had said that dialogue was important, that it had to be given a chance, but it wasn't going to wait indefinitely for some kind of progress to be made. Now, what we can expect to see is the letter coming forward from the local prefect with a list of names that will be given to the firm, and those workers will be obliged to come to work. A refusal to do so, they run the risk of a 6-month prison term and a €10,000 fine. Now, where the unions here have previously said for several days already, given the threat of requisitions, that they would react legally, that they would challenge it in court, and that it was in fact an attack on the constitutionally enshrined right to striking. Now, it does seem likely that intentions are going to be inflamed further, with yet another refinery this day also joining in with ongoing strikes. They pointed to the government's use of requisitioning as a reason for their joining in, as well as the failure of management to really move forward with negotiations.
And just briefly, Luke, remind us why it is that these workers are out on strike in the first place.
Ultimately, this comes down to the cost of living crisis. The situation with the war in Ukraine has forced fuel prices ever higher, and inflation to almost record levels, really. Now, the difficulty with that is that ordinary people are feeling their belts tightened ever further, and they're finding it increasingly difficult just simply to live. Now, here at various refineries where we've been here at Esso, Exxon Mobil, and Total in the area. All of them have said that there's been no investment. It's becoming increasingly difficult. They've worked, as one put it to me, like dogs for years, and they've seen no recompense in terms of that. Now, this comes at a time when oil and gas profits are shooting to record highs because of this war in Ukraine. The problem with the strike as such is that that's forced fuel prices, at least in France, even higher still, and that's having an effect on just ordinary French people. We've seen these tailbacks at petrol stations across the country, and that's the reason why the government is moving forward with requisitions. It comes down to a threat to public order, which gives it the right to do so.